This lesson will discuss updating the error log. Topics include: what is the error log command used for? What does the message type parameter do? What are some possible destinations? And how can the error log command help in website development? Looking over to the first code example, on line 5, we set the file name to website_access.log. On line 7, we get the IP address of the user. On line 9, we get the user's browser information. This is obtained from a superglobal automatically created by PHP called $_server. This superglobal takes the form of an array and is discussed in greater detail in the web section. On line 12, we get the current date, and on line 14, we consolidate this information into a single message string. Starting on line 17, there are different ways in which this message can be logged. Some of the techniques have been discussed in other lessons, such as using file put contents or using fopen in the write mode or append mode. Another possibility is to use the error log command. The error log command is designed to take a message and write it out into a log file. The log file could be the standard PHP error log as indicated in the PHP ini file. The way to do this is simply to use the error log command with the message as a single argument. Alternatively, as you can see on line 20, which is currently commented out, if you set the message type parameter, which is the second parameter, to number 2, the destination then becomes email. The third argument then must be the email address, which comprises the destination. Bear in mind that the email destination will only work if this server has an MTA, which is an acronym which stands for Mail Transfer Agent. So, for example, in the case of Windows, you might have Exchange installed. In the case of Linux, you might have something like Exim, for example. So some sort of mail transfer agent is required. On line 23, we see that the message type parameter, the second parameter, is set to 3, in which case we can send the log information to any given file name. In this example, it's going to go to the file name website_access.log. We will then reread this file and look at the contents. In addition, we'll have a look at the PHP error log. So moving over to the browser, let's run this example. So as you can see, we have a log which consists of the IP address. In this case, it's an IP6 designation for localhost. Here's the date and the time. And here is some browser information for various browsers that have accessed this particular website. So as you can see, it's primarily been so far Internet Explorer 9 and Chrome. Moving back to the code example, the next question is, if we want to look at the standard PHP error log, how is that configured? The answer is, we need to go to the PHP ini file. In the PHP ini file, there is a directive called error_log. This needs to be configured to point to a specific file within your file system. If you've installed your system using XAMPP, this will be located under the XAMPP PHP logs directory. We can then go and find this log and have a look. So moving now to XAMPP, PHP, logs, and here's the PHP error log. The PHP error log, of course, contains entries of various types, primarily, of course, the errors that might have occurred as you're developing your applications. But as you can see on the bottom line, we have a new entry which represents the log entry which was just made, in this case coming from Windows Internet Explorer 9. Another consideration in the PHP ini file is error logging in general. There's a setting called display errors, another setting called display startup errors, which is for the display of errors. This is generally set on in development environments, and it's set off in production. However, you'll notice there's another entry called log errors. If log errors is set on, regardless of the display value, the errors will be logged and they will be placed in the log file indicated by the error_log setting. In review, what is the error log command used for? It writes messages to the PHP error log or other destinations. What does the message type parameter do? The message type parameter is the second parameter in the error log command, and it indicates the destination of the message. If you do not indicate the message type parameter, it assumes the PHP error log. What are some possible destinations? The PHP error log, as specified by the error_log directive in the PHP INI file, email, or a specifically named file. How can the error log command help in website development? It can be used to keep a log of events that are happening on your website. As you saw in the demonstration, you can use this to capture information about users visiting the website, including browser types, remote addresses, and other pieces of information. This concludes our discussion of updating the error log.